Hey traders, this is Taylor with Top Pick Trading. I want to give you guys your weekly Wednesday review. So it's Wednesday, October 18th, 2023, and you can see today was pretty downhill. We would kind of push strongly, chop sideways, failed breakout at the top, push strongly down, chop sideways, failed breakout the lower side, then a little bit out the upper side, then push strongly down into the close with this really strong trend. Kind of hard to find, but I do believe that this trend, this very big trend here is valid. Um, it turned off here right in through this area and seemed like it definitely was valid. So still not that many trades today. There's actually, in my opinion, even though they were counter trend, a couple good longs when we started chopping sideways. Fortunately, not as many shorts. Just couldn't get good bars, it seemed like. So context was a little unclear in certain spots too. So let's get started. So let's see, 8 o'clock came right in through here. We just kind of chopped sideways, pushed down here. We got a break and new low. Pushed up. You get a second entry short. Well, technically right here, but this looks like the second leg. But all your downtrends have played out. You don't really know that this is valid yet. This one right here, and it is drawn from this swing from yesterday. You could redraw it like right here or even right here. Still fits pretty well, so I just drew it from there. Let's see. We push strongly to the lower side right here in this little micro downtrend. Pushes up, just chops sideways, nothing through here. You do get this little failed breakout, but I think it's really sideways here, so I'm not really wanting to go short yet. Still not all that much room either. Pushes out the lower side, pushes up, confirms this key entry point for fourth touch if you had it from the overnight, or a third touch if you had it from here. It's technically a second entry, but this move up here was pretty strong. It is a triple test as well, but even still, the bar's not that great. So pushes lower. Get a lower high here, no second entry. Gets a break a new low from the micro downtrend, starts chopping sideways. We do get what looks like a triple test right here, but once again, this move up right here had some strength to it. And it made a higher high. We came up short of the lower side of this bigger trend line as well, or trend channel as well, so just on a first entry, I don't think you can take that. You get a failed second entry long, but now we're kind of mid-range. Maybe you take a chance on that one right at the key entry point again, but just kind of right in this chop area, right in the middle of it. So, and not that the EMA matters that much in this type of environment right here, but still, right into that EMA and midline. That's probably more important. But I mark that. It does push lower. You get a failed second entry short by a tick, but right into that trend line there. So didn't take that. Pushes higher, gets an overshoot. Drops, pushes strongly to the downside again. You get a second entry short, but the bar's not any good, and it's right into that resistance anyway. And it's sideways. Pushes higher. This is like the first leg up and then the second leg up, and I think this actually got like a perfect measured move. Let me check. Yeah, a couple ticks more than a perfect measured move. But turns off this trend line that you wouldn't have had yet. So, but it does. It's like the second leg up, so you're probably going to come back to the EMA eventually. But here you get a failed first entry, failed second entry long, and like I said, you wouldn't have this key entry point yet, but you're just playing more of a failed breakout. You also get like a little visual second entry short. I still mark this orange because it's very sideways. If there was a little more separation in here, maybe you take that. So orange means a little bit too aggressive if you aren't familiar with our color scheme. So super aggressive, maybe you take a chance there, but I thought it was a little too sideways for me. Pushes to the downside really strongly here. You get a break, just chops lower. I don't see anything through here. Everything's played out. Pushes lower again. Second entry short, but you got the two legs down now. Strong micro uptrend here. Just turns on a dime, comes back down. You get a failed first entry short, failed second entry short. This one's pretty tempting, but it's kind of forming right on that EMA. And I'm not just so convinced that we're going to just reverse out of here. So I just think that it's been too bearish. I just marked it just for kind of learning purposes so you can see what some of these look like. But I would rather this be on the other side of that EMA instead of on it. And then right here we get like, if you treated this as a double bottom, you could almost see this one as the failure as well. Otherwise it's a higher low. Problem with this one is at the time you probably had a little bit tighter trend channel like this, and it looks like a break. And then at this point you're kind of just mid range from this big down, big up, big down, big up area. So I didn't mark either of those. It does push higher here. Gets like a little overshoot. Turns off this resistance area. You make this almost could look like 2 legs down here with a second entry right here, but notice that wick separation there, and also you could count this as a double top. So better to probably wait than take this one. You would have survived it, but if you do wait, you get to count this as a double top. First entry, second entry, that EMA holds again, and this time the body forms right on that EMA. It's a pretty good bar. Probably going to get a retest on this since that EMA and this, well, you wouldn't have the midline yet, but the EMA is holding. Good bar. Enough room to the highs. So you get a nice scalp out of that. This is like a failed breakout, but for me personally, you got these strong 5 bars in a row. I'm not going to take a chance there. I'm not so great at picking these tops yet, so maybe more aggressive people would mark that, but I'm not going to mark it. Pushes lower, or I should not necessarily say more aggressive, but more skilled. Pushes lower. You get a second entry short here, expecting a retest on this micro downtrend. It also turns right at this major resistance level here. Big risk size. I didn't take this in real time because of that. And it backs right up. You can see the EMA. It held right here, but here now we're just kind of chopping on both sides. So that's not much of a factor. So you probably can take that for a scalp. It's decent. It's with the overall bias as well. And then we come back and we get a lower high here, but it's just a little inside bar, so I didn't mark that. Pushes lower. You can see how choppy we are, even though we've got that bearish tilt. It's just really choppy through here. So I don't see anything through here. No real clear trend line. We come down to the support, break out a little bit to the low side, pushes higher. You get a first entry, and then you get this second entry long that ticks one above and then turns. If you're waiting for this to play out, then I see why you wouldn't take this, and that was my reasoning in real time. But in my opinion, this is with the bearish tilt overall. This is, you probably can get a little scalp out of this. It's probably going to trick enough longs here, especially these really broad 2 legs. So yeah, if you took that, I understand why. It comes back again. Just out the low side, break a new low, chop sideways. You get a second entry short here, but equal highs, and it's kind of into this sideways mess, so I didn't mark that. It would have worked. It backed up on you, but would have worked. Chop lower, and now come off this lower side. You wouldn't have had this yet, but that's where I think the bottom of the trend line is ends up being set. Anyway, pushes higher. It falls over to this this spike in channel here. At the time, in real time, I had this at first. Maybe it is that. You get an overshoot. But as it started chopping up through here, you could kind of set your highs. And you can see those highs fit pretty well. So right here, you get a second entry long. It's just a bit far from the EMA on an overall bearish day. So I didn't mark it. The other problem with this spike in channel, this gap right here looks a little odd. So I just wasn't so sure in real time on that one. But that second entry long ended up working nicely. Which higher turns right at this possible key entry point. This technically confirmed it, but this is the third real major swing that touches it. And it pushes strongly to the low side, comes back, and then pushes lower. I still didn't mark this because it looks like it's right in the middle of this spike in channel. Pushes lower. We start just kind of chopping to the low side. EMA starts holding. No real setups. You're kind of looking long still, possibly, unless you really trusted this trend line. You may think this spike in channel is going to play out, but bearish tilt was just too much for it. You can see that EMA start holding. So right in through here, when that held right here, I'd be a little wary of longs, and it comes back, gives you a lower high. Fortunately, no bar on this chart. Drops to the low side. Gets a break a new low, and what looks like probably an overshoot. I kept drawing overshoots. Maybe this is the overshoot. But if you make this area the midline, then it almost just fits without an overshoot, or maybe a very small one. Could be drawn from this one as well. Several ways to draw a lot of these channels today that sort of fit. So it made it a little more difficult. But regardless, this more micro downtrend gets a break, new low. Comes back to the EMA, first entry, second entry, third entry, fourth. So just a fourth entry. You could see this as a triple test, but more local stuff's played out, and it looks like maybe there's some type of overshoot like we mentioned. So, and also you've got this little micro uptrend working. So I didn't mark that. Drops to this support, micro support level, pushes higher. Get a nice uptrend here. and you're thinking, well, maybe this is going to retest, but this here has enough strength to probably warrant a retest locally. And you can see here at this major support level that we have broken out of several times, but it comes back to it with a second entry long with a really great bar. First entry, second entry. It's also like a little failed breakout of this congestion. Just expecting at least a retest of this level right here. So that's a really nice trade right there, in my opinion. Second entry long, bouncing at this support level. Failed break lower from the tight congestion. Pushes higher, comes back, gives a higher low, but now we've got the new high right here, so I don't think you want to take the higher low. EMA also didn't hold on the close. That does push higher though for that second leg up. And now, lo and behold, we turn again off this resistance of the trend line, key entry point. But with those 4 strong bulls, I don't think you want to take a chance there. If you got a lower high here, maybe you take the chance. But it ends up pushing lower. Gets a break and new low from this micro downtrend, chops sideways. You get a second entry short, but that micro downtrend's played out and you don't have very much room at all. Would have worked for a scalp, but you don't know that. Comes back, gets a second touch off of this. This isn't confirmed yet, but you're going to be watching it. Pushes lower. No good setup for a second entry short. Now this is played out. Now we get like a double bottom, so this really just looks like a first entry. If you did see that as a second entry, still probably don't want to take it because you wouldn't have had this big trend line yet, and this more micro one has a break and new low. Pushes lower, chops sideways into the 3:30 hour. And here you can get, this technically is a second entry when it breaks further here, but this looks like 2 legs back. Fortunately, the bar got huge, so I don't think you want to take that, but it does turn right off that key entry point. You took engulfing maybe, but then at that point you're taking it right into that EMA. So probably no setup there on this chart. Let's take a look at the second chart. I'll go through that one a little bit quicker. Here's the second chart. Had like several, almost 1,000 tick offset today, so many different bars. You can kind of see, I'm not going to go over the whole chart again, but same general ideas. Trend lines still fit. Let me show you some of the ones that I think work good though on here. There may be a couple more through here that I didn't look so closely at, but this one in particular I like. This is where we had that spike in channel, and it pushes lower here. This wider trend line fits a little bit better on this one. And right here, you technically get a second entry short, but if you weren't convinced of that, then you come back, confirm that key entry point with a 4th touch, and get a lower high there. And at the time, you probably had that. So I really like that trade. Great bar. So that's a pretty good trade. The only reason I marked it green is because you may have still been worried about the context of this. And also, we have been kind of bouncing in that midline a good bit, but I still think that's a pretty good trade. Probably going to attract the people that blindly bought that midline right here. So pushes lower. And then you can see that same second entry long that's set up on our other chart sets up nicely on here too. So you had confluence from both charts. First entry, second entry, expecting a retest on this. And also it looks like that failed breakout as well. Same, very similar looking on both charts. And then down here, here's one you might have missed. This is the one that had the huge bar on the visual second entry short. On this one, it's a little bit smaller. It turns right at that key entry point there. One thing to note on this one, May got burned right here if you took this lower high at the second entry short right here. But you're coming off the low side of the trend line. A lot of times that EMA is not going to hold when the more local price action is already played out. Right here you've got the break and several legs down. So at that point you're kind of playing not the EMA as much, and instead the bigger trend line, which is right here. So and it's a bit congested as well. So that's a tricky one still, but you kind of were thinking about the bigger context clues on that one. You may have been smart enough to avoid and then taking a chance on that one right there. That would have been a nice trade. So right before 3:30, so still a bit risky. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that review. Big downhill day with a couple good long opportunities and several good mediocre short setups as well. If you guys are enjoying the content, please like and subscribe, and continue watching. We'll be back every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thanks for watching.